Right, motion number 15. This is from myself, Councillor Friel and Councillor Conroy, and I think Councillor Deasy might have indicated she was going to sign it. Look, I'm not going to spend long on this. This is a clear compromise motion. The issue of Strand Road came to us in the middle of August. There has been proposals both for and against. There has been a lot of, good ideas from both people who are in favour of this and people who are against it. And there's been a lot of suggestions as to how it could be implemented or not implemented, and people have a variety of views on it. I tried in drafting this motion to reconcile a lot of different conflicting views, to see how we could bring them together, how we could bring people together, to see how we could improve traffic in the area. It is not a perfect motion, and in circulating the motion to councillors, I said it wasn't a perfect motion and would welcome any comments and suggestions. The key thing in the answer that I have from the manager that has been circulated is that no changes will be implemented until January 2021 at the earliest, that they would take on board the idea of some form of monitoring oversight type committee, that the issues involved would be looked at. In the overall context, I'm happy with the answer. I'm not happy with the way this came out. I'm not happy with the limited information and all of those different things. But we are where we are, and I'm trying to, bring people and things along. So that's the context in which I'm proposing a motion. The final thing I'll say is I do believe that the answer is a promenade, a cycleway inside the promenade of Sandymount Strand. I think that is the ultimate answer, and so I'm proposing the motion. I personally will welcome any amendments, suggestions that people have. I see Councillor Flynn, Councillor McCartan, Councillor Conroy, and I'll keep on going. Everybody, okay?
Thank you very much, Chairman. I would support the motion. As I said, the motion came about because of the manner in which this proposal was rolled out. And again, like I said earlier on, the way that these infrastructures have been rolled out for cycling is totally wrong. I spoke in Sandymount today to the media and to a lot of residents. Nobody is opposed to cycling infrastructure. Nobody is opposed to a better environment. Nobody is opposed to cycling and walking. What they're opposed to is the manner in which this is rolled out, where there's no proper consultation, where it's simply like, it's Owen Keegan's way or the highway. It's not good enough. It's not good enough at all. And in many cases where they've rolled out these particular kind of infrastructures like in Cannon Street, it is actually dangerous and actually wrong. So it's all going to backfire. What I'd ask is that Mr. Keegan would actually pull this back entirely and actually go to a consultation process with everybody concerned, because it's not just the people of Sandymount. Where are those cars all going to go? They're all going to go into Sandymount Village. They're going to go into Merrion Road. They're all going to jam into other areas. And as I said earlier on, Chairman, no cars are being removed. No trucks are being removed. So there's lots of problems here. I would ask that Mr. Owen Keegan would actually come and actually present these plans in a proper manner, inform the local councillors that we're not being informed by stealth in relation to this, that we don't have a crisis in the city on our hands. There's a way of doing this. There's an opportunity to do this. We want proper infrastructure, but we don't want the situation where the city is disgustingly overrun with plastic. We're all talking about like a better environment, but you're not going to make a better environment out of this. But this is about consultation, and as you keep mentioning, Chairman, it's about democracy. So I commend the motion. I think that the motion is good enough, but I'd ask that we would actually ask Mr. Keegan to stand this plan down and to come into this committee and explain to him what he exactly wants to do, and then go out to the proper consultation. There's plenty of space on the promenade for a cycling way and a cycling lane that can link in, but this way is just going to cause mayhem. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCartan, and then that's followed by Councillor Feeney, Councillor Gagan. Okay.
Thank you very much for that comprehensive report. It does show that the engagement with residents from the number of submissions that have been made, it does show that that makes an impact. I have been overwhelmed by the correspondence I got from residents, and I think the first thing to reassure people in Sandymount that nothing is going to happen until the end of January at the earliest, as you said, Chairman. But even at that stage, bringing in a cycle lane at the beginning of February is hardly a conducive time in the middle of winter. So I think it will probably be extend it out further. But my suggestion is that, given the interim period of those months ahead, that the far more comprehensive alternative put forward by many of the groups in Sandymount, many innovative suggestions, many of the suggestions that have been there for years about boardwalks and using the promenade. If the promenade wasn't there, there wouldn't be the alternatives. But there are alternatives. And the implications, not just for Sandymount, but for Ballsbridge and the surrounding areas of shoehorning traffic. There's one glib response there from Dublin City Council that the traffic will find alternative ways to get into the city. Yeah, but what are those alternative ways? The alternative ways are going up Merrion Road and with no right-hand turns until Serpentine Avenue. So the issues are clear, and the response has been very thorough to the motion as proposed by Councillor Lacey. And at this stage, I think there's the opportunity to engage further and make sure, as this is an arterial road, it's not like a road out to Sandy Cove, where it has worked reasonably well as far as the feedback I'm getting, but this is of a different order altogether. And now is the time to grasp the major issue and come up with a far more substantive proposal that will deal with a project that has been around for, I think it's 20 years, this Sutton to Sandy Cove cycleway.
Thank you. Councillor Gagan, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor Conroy.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank
you, Chairman, and thanks to management for their comprehensive report to this motion proposed by Councillor Lacey and a number of other councillors. Like everybody else, I've been inundated with views on this proposal ever since it was first announced, really in the Irish Times after a report was published. And I think, you know, the overwhelming view, and it's very difficult to capture one overwhelming view, but I do think there is an overwhelming view in Sandymount, and that is 90 to 95% of residents in Sandymount want a segregated cycle lane on the Strand Road. What the concern is, and it's not an anti-cycling, pro-motorist concern, the concern is a very, very simple one. There are a number of roads, Tritonville Road, Durham Road, Marine Drive, Guildford Road, Sandymount Avenue, Park Avenue. There are a number of roads where there are families who live on those roads. There are families who cycle who live on those roads. There are elderly people who live on those roads. And there are lots of people who walk their dogs up and down that road, in and out of the village, which they enjoy so much. And the point very simply is that for years, for decades, people who've lived on the Strand Road have suffered from HGV vehicles. Some houses, when I was campaigning, their houses were actually trembling when the trucks go past them. And for decades, they have suffered this. What this proposal sought, ultimately one of the consequences of the proposal, if it was to go to its fruition, would essentially to be remove a single line of traffic, which necessarily would benefit those who live on the Strand Road. But what's regrettable is that where there is so much support within the Sandymount community for an amenity like the boardwalk all along the Strand Road, that we've been left with a situation which I understand the ambition underpinning this proposal, which is reflective of what's taking place right across the city, which is to get people on bicycles and to make cities more livable. Regrettably, we have essentially streets on Sandymount being pitted against one another. And that, I think, is just, it's an unfortunate reality, and I think we have to bridge those gaps. And I really do think it would be terrible if this got turned into a kind of a we're pro-cycling or we're anti-cycling. This isn't actually a binary thing here. It really is a genuine, legitimate, not fanciful, not pie-in-the-sky concern that very simply all those trucks and all those cars that the residents of the Strand Road have suffered from will simply be replaced and will travel down some of the roads that I've set out. And I think ultimately this report is probably reflective of Dublin City Council themselves and the engineers and the huge amount of work that has already gone into this proposal of what they see may well happen. And perhaps that's why they are now saying that it will be extended till January 2021. But I would love, if at all possible, if we can, Councillor Lacey talked about, bringing the community together. Like, the single best way that the community can be brought together is if we can be told how the boardwalk proposal, the original proposal, is that feasible? Can it be implemented? What sort of timelines are we talking about? Because Sandymount residents, in my view, of cyclist and non-cyclist persuasion, would wrap their arms around this idea. And one final point, I really would hope that as a consequence of this being delayed till January 2021, that this does not mean that Sandymount will have to wait another year for the 3 pedestrian crossings that it has been promised within Sandymount Village, and that these would be implemented. And some of the other public realm ideas that have been put out there to improve Sandymount and to lessen the car load and congestion within Sandymount would also be implemented, and we can all work together towards an achievable outcome. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Councillor Geoghegan, and to be honest with you, that's the whole purpose of the motion. Councillor O'Connor.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for the opportunity to speak on this. I'm still reeling from the fact that I learned about this proposal as a councillor in the Irish Times, and that infuriates me. We got a 2-line email from Owen Keegan on a Friday at 1 o'clock, and then we read about the detail of this in the Irish Times. That is not good enough for us as local representatives. However it got into the Irish Times, I think Councillor Lacey was right when he chaired this the last time round to say that it has done a disservice to all of us as councillors. And the result is that you have a community here who have now got their back up, because they had to read about the detail of this project in the Irish Times also. And that's not good enough for them, given how massive the infrastructural change is to this community. The second thing that infuriates me, and it happens a lot on this council, is that if a community takes a position that they have difficulties with the nuances of a project, or specifically the traffic displacement results of a project, that they're then just labelled as anti-cycling. And I know that there's a lot of people in Sandymount who are furious about that. And I know that there's a lot of cyclists in Sandymount who are infuriated as that label of being anti-cycling. I think the concerns that have been raised here are legitimate, I think they're reasonable, and I think that they have to be addressed. Now, like other councillors, I'm sure you've spent all of August looking at hundreds of emails, and I've forensically dissected those, and each of the emails is nuanced, and everybody is responding to this in a very detailed way, and they're taking the time to set out their concerns. And I think we have to give them that back in terms of our detail. So, you know, there's a myriad of concerns here, not least short-term concerns, long-term concerns. And I think the short-term concerns are obvious from looking at a plan or a proposal that doesn't cater for traffic displacement. So if a lane of traffic is taken away, it has to go somewhere. It doesn't just simply, you know, revert back and bounce back. It's like water, you know, it has to find its level. So there's huge issues around, say, Serpentine Avenue, Tritonville Road. They're going to become conduits in circumstances where that right turn off coming from Blackrock, will say, towards the city is taken away. It's a HGV route. Where are those trucks going to go on their way to the East Link? There's traffic displacement issues that'll hit Durham Road, that'll hit Park Avenue, Sydney Parade Avenue, particularly Newbridge Avenue. You know, I can't list them all out, but there's very obvious traffic displacement concerns. There's also issues around rash running, Marine Drive, which could supposedly become a one-way system. And there's also issues about people trying to access their houses. So, look, in terms of the short-term issues, they're the short-term issues. And the long-term issues, there's a central pipe and central water pipe and a central sewerage pipe that goes down Tritonville Road and Newbridge Avenue. So while they could sustain increased traffic for 6 months, they couldn't long-term. The other long-term issue with this is that, you know, there was an NTA study in 2015, the East Coast Trail, and it suggested 5 different proposals for cycleways through Sandymount. And there were some excellent off-the-road initiatives in those. And they are, I think, what the community are craving, is the off-the-road initiatives and the segregated cycleway. And it's safer too, because a lot of people starting to cycle during COVID are first-time cyclists. Okay, and I include myself in that. You know, I have bad accidents years ago and would terrify me to be back in the roads again. But something off the road as an initiative, I think,
Claire,
is
I don't
really
want to interrupt you.
I'm going to
running
stop
out
now.
of time.
I'm going to stop
Okay.
now. This is the point that I'm getting to, Chair. But I do think people are entitled to analyse this.
I do
okay,
too,
yeah,
but we just have this
okay.
2-hour limit. That's the
Okay,
problem.
and I'm going to finish, and I won't talk on anything else. The public consultation process finishes tomorrow. And what I hope, and what I really demand, is that we don't get back some kind of box-ticking report which says X amount of people are in favour, X amount are against. Because people have a more coloured view of the world than that, and of cycleways than that. We want back a rigorous, detailed, comprehensive analysis of exactly what kind of themes and patterns have come back. They should be weighted in terms of people who live in the area, as opposed to somebody from randomly a different part of the city. And the question for us as councillors isn't whether we are pro or anti-cycling. The question for us and for the full council is whether or not we believe that the public have been consulted to an adequate level, and whether or not them bothering to fill in this online survey has been a box-ticking exercise or not. Because, going back to what I said at the start, because it's disseminated through the Irish Times, there is a feeling out there that it's a done deal, that people aren't going to be listened to. So we have to demand that that's a rigorous analysis.
Okay, thanks. There are 5 more speakers still listed, and there's a tradition that we call on the Lord Mayor whenever the Lord Mayor indicates you want to speak. So, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. I was happy waiting my turn as well. This is an odd one, because at the end of the day, I do see the merits of the motion, but I can't support it. And I can't support it for a very good reason, on the basis that I do fully understand where my colleagues are coming from in terms of frustration, in terms of how they heard this, in terms of how things were communicated. But I also want to point to the reason for this scheme and the title of the scheme. It is a COVID scheme. We are in the midst of a pandemic still, and we will continue to be in the midst of a pandemic. And during a pandemic, there are crisis mitigation we need to perform. And part of this proposal is that we are putting in a cycleway to try to make transport easier and better for all concerned. We need a shift in modal transport. We know that true and true. And this is why there are COVID mobility measures across the board, and they have been working. And yes, I do understand Councillor Flynn's point where it's not communicated well, or they just see things popping up and we need to support trade. And I understand that, and I agree with that. But at the same time, this is part of the COVID measures and COVID planning, and it is part of a trial. So yes, we all have received many emails about this. I've received hundreds of emails. And it's not just one side or another. I've received many from Sandymount residents that are supporting the scheme. I've received many that are against. And the thing is, what I want more than anything else is that there is no division with this. There is a compromise. And the compromise is what we call the trial period. And this is why there is a trial period for this scheme. So it is a segregated cycleway for a trial. There will be the idea of traffic displacement. I just like to point to the fact that we are on an all-time low when it comes to traffic. So the traffic now that people are envisaging in terms of going down Tritonfield Road, in terms of going through Durham Road, in Guildford Avenue, all those roads, it's not the same amount of traffic volume. We haven't seen the same amount of traffic volume across the city. And this is why we need to seize this opportunity to do this now. And there needs to be a will to do it. And that will is led by leadership of this council to the people and the residents across the board. And I don't mean just residents in Sandymount, I mean residents around Dublin. You have Councillor Deasy screaming for cycle lanes in Kimmage and Crumlin. You have other various councillors screaming for cycle lanes. And this is our opportunity to put a cycle lane in a route that many can use. The argument in terms of zones and school zones, we have been implementing safe school zones around the Dublin City. I think we need to implement them across the board in Sandymount and in the rest of the parts of Dublin. But this involves working with the residents as well. And I do not contest the point by any of the councillors that it's a matter of working with communities. And this is why the council official, Owen Keegan, has already said he will talk to the likes of Samurai, he will talk to the likes of Tritonville Road, and these are proposals that need to be the things we move forward. So in conclusion, I applaud the motion. I understand why my colleagues would be supporting it, but I myself can't, because I do think we need change now more so than ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Conroy. And then that's followed, I think I missed Councillor Feeney, my apologies there. But Councillor Conroy is next, then Councillor Dunn, Councillor Deasy, and if you don't want to come in. Okay, Councillor Conroy.
Thank you, and I will...
Sorry, Claire, I didn't see your hand. My apologies. It actually is quite difficult. Sorry about that. Okay.
Thank you. I'll be very quick on this because we have all been contacted so much by the local residents and by people outside of the area who travel through there and who want to cycle through there. I brought it up before at our presentation. The Strand Road and all of Sandymount, it's historic roads, they're very narrow, but it has one of the most exceptional spaces where a cycle route could be gone through the promenade. Even the walking area of the promenade says no cycling. And because this is such an expensive area to do this properly, it's not an issue for Mr. Owen Keegan, if you don't mind my saying so. I think the Minister for Transport should just fund this to be done properly and stop wasting it any longer, so that we have a cycle route across the River Liffey, linking up with Clontarf, which has a fantastic one. And it is as simple as that, because the side roads, Serpentine Avenue, Tritonville Road, all of those, the people living on those won't be able to cycle because of the heavy traffic. So it really makes no sense unless it's set out properly. And I support everybody else who has spoken about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Chair. Normally I wouldn't come in on an issue that in relation to another LEA, but I think Sandymount, and I want to follow one up from what the Lord Mayor said. Sandymount isn't just about the residents of Sandymount. Sandymount is a facility that has been enjoyed for generations and generations by Dubliners. I recall as a kid getting the 8 bus out to Serpentine Avenue and the long walk down to the beach, and then the long walk from the beach out to the sea. We brought our own kids there. Whatever is best for the people of Dublin is really how this issue should be looked at. I totally support to have a Strand promenade with safe cycling and safe pedestrian facilities. I happened to spend some time over the weekend out in Dunleary, and it had been a number of years since I'd been there. But you take the coast road from Blackrock all the way in to past the East Pier, the West Pier, and all beyond that. A cycle track that is used, as I spotted over the weekend, by literally hundreds of people per hour. That's what we should be aspiring to, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Deasy. No. Councillor Byrne, final speaker.
Sorry, and I'll be very quick not to labour the point, okay. But just to say there is a public consultation taking place, so I'm not really sure how much more consultation you want. Deadline is today for anyone who wants to make their own thoughts known. The HGVs are not supposed to be using that route anyway, so this actually might bring an opportunity to properly enforce that. There were similar fears raised about increased traffic when Shelley Banks Primary School is supposed to move to the former rehab site. That's since moved. The big fears haven't been realised. We can't have a boardwalk there. Trust me, even as a Green, we have looked at all the ways to do this. There is breeding birds and nesting birds there, and it will be in breach of the Habitats Directive. It mightn't be impossible, but it would be costly, and we'd delay this project by another 5 years at minimum. We need to complete the Sutton to Sandy Coast, Sandymount, or Sutton to Sandy Coast cycle route, and Sandymount has been the pinch point for a long time. It isn't just about the Sandymount residents, it's about all the people commuting from the north side to the south side on a daily basis. And now we can actually trial a solution. It might not be the solution, but that's the glory of trials. And if we can trial this and keep our citizens safe as part of the COVID mobility measures at the same time, then to me this is a positive proposal that should go ahead without any amendments. Let's see how it goes for 6 months and review it then. Thank you.
Okay. Nobody else wants to speak? I want to be fair because it's my motion. I don't want to ram anything through. Claire, do you want to add anything to this?
Just quickly, thanks for all your comments. So, yeah, the consultation does close today. As of this afternoon, we had 2,500 submissions. So what we're proposing is we're going to prepare a report on the submissions for the next meeting, a detailed report. And then we're obviously going to go through all the issues. We're going to revise any drawings or any, different measures and put it back out again for public consultation. Put it out again then for a few weeks, and then we'll try and finalise the design after that.
Okay, thank you. Just for my own part, I'm happy with the report from the manager. I think it makes some progress. I think the discussion today justified putting down the motion. I'm not trying to stop anything, but I am trying to make rational, reasonable progress, which is why I tabled the motion. So, Councillor Flynn, do you want to? And then we'll try and move on because there are lots of things on the agenda.
Just very briefly, when you are issuing the report in relation to the consultation process, which I don't believe is a consultation process anyway, can you ascertain within that particular report how many people who made submissions were part of the cycling campaigns and lobbies? A vast amount of the emails that we received, and certainly I received, we've identified as being part of the cycling lobby. A lot of the emails I received from the local people who lived in Sandymount were just ordinary everyday folk. They didn't have a particular campaign. So we need to understand the campaigning aspect of this versus the local residents who this came upon without any warning. Thank you.
Okay, and I understand your point you're making. Indeed, Councillor O'Connor made a similar point. But, lobby groups have a right to lobby. And if you passionately believe in something, you have a right to lobby for that. Even though I'm on the opposite side in some of this, people have a right to lobby. I know that Councillor Gagan cycled here today, and so did I, so I'm certainly not anti-cycling. Okay, is the motion agreed? Okay, that's fair enough. Those in favour of the motion, I'm accepting the manager's report. Those in favour of the motion? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those against the motion? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion defeated. Okay, so the road can go ahead if it wants at the moment. Okay, motion number 16, Councillor Gagan. I'm actually not quite sure where that leaves the manager's proposals, by the way. But
just as I am speaking, I mean, look, the report is the.
Sorry.
Just as I am speaking, the report is the report, as far as I understand these things, unless you're going to explain to me how the rules of South East area meetings happen.
No.
Yeah.
I was accepting the report.
Yeah, so your motion, the reason I voted against was too prescriptive.
Okay, well, let me be clear then, okay? Yeah. Because I was trying to respond to a request here.
Yes.
I was proposing the motion as, reported on by... If there was some lack of clarification there, I'm not trying to change anything. If somebody else wants a confirmation that the report is adopted, I will accept that. But I don't want to propose it myself because it would be an abuse of the chair.
No,
Okay, are you proposing that the report be adopted?
I'm not proposing anything. I just think it's... sorry, unless... Can I be late?
Shh. Okay, please, hold on. I'm not trying to do anything other than...
Can I be late? For the people, if there are people watching this stream, I just want them to understand the process. You proposed a motion along with Councillor Deirdre Conroy and somebody, I can't remember who else, Mary Freehill. And that motion has a whole list of very prescriptive things, right? That motion's non-binding on anybody. As a consequence of that, there is a report, right? And it has been, hold on, please, just let me finish. It has been represented that this was some sort of a motion that is going to some way alter one way or another the progression of this. And all I'm trying to point out is we have the engineer who's explained to us that next month we're going to have a report. We will all consider that, and then and if there's some vote we have to take on that, fine. But that's the only
for
point
clarification purpose, does the committee accept the report? That's all. I'm just trying to. I want whoever takes a minute to be clear on what.
Well, no, I don't. There's loads more issues that have to be teased out. That
okay.
This is not the proper.
No, but
way
you've
to tease them
raised
out.
it. But
yes.
you've raised it.
Yes.
Does the committee accept the report from the manager? Okay, Councillor O'Connor.
I think it's negligent for us to adopt or refuse any report today. Sorry, to adopt a report today when there's a public consultation process about to close today. Let's hear the public. And
Okay.
the reason I didn't support your motion was because it doesn't suit anyone. It doesn't suit people that want to get out there and cycle during COVID, and it doesn't suit people that are having traffic issues.
Okay. Report noted and the motion rejected. Okay?
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Come on.
And now we can make more common ground.